Tom Lancaster.
First
I think it's like an old song.
Is it old song?
Yeah.
My first appointment was 6:45.
You want to say something here?
I want to make two statements. One is I don't know if you've ever heard of the New Jersey Intercampus Network, which is a collaboration of all the colleges in the state. What we're in the process of developing is a statewide interactive video network connecting all the colleges for instruction and taking it a step further and interconnecting all of the educational access channels for a statewide educational access channel. That's called the New Jersey Intercampus Network. And also, if anybody's interested, every spring we run a conference that's held at William Patterson called Video Computers Converging Technologies. We bring a number of speakers. In fact, one of the gentlemen here had presented Minitel a couple of years ago from Bell Atlantic. I didn't know this. So that's May 14th. We also have breakout sessions in the afternoon where we let various groups, organizations, and so forth do their own special presentation. And we also have vendor displays. So if you represent a distributor of equipment or a manufacturer, you might have an opportunity to show off your equipment. If anyone's interested in learning more about our conference on May 14th, I'll give you a name and phone number that you can call in case you would like to get either more information about it or you would like to participate in the conference. Where's that home? That's at William Patterson College, right up the hill. And by the way, I don't know if you know, but there's a caveman uplink up there, which was just digitized for impression.
That's May 14th,
May 14th.
Is it? You'll all be getting a newsletter recapping this, and we'll announce that in the newsletter. Next, I'd like to ask Bob Skina, President of Futurevision, to talk to us.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to hear us out today. Usually I get to go after Guy Falzerano, and it's pretty important that I do because I get a sense of just the insight of a group and the background of a group and exactly I can really get a feel for whether or not what we're talking about is coming through. In this case, early on there was a forceful question about who Futurevision is, where we came from, and I thought I'd take a kind of a second to background you. Bear with me, it could be boring. If it gets boring, throw something at me. It's kind of the first rule of the presenter to do no harm. So just work with me for a second on this. I was the CFO of I guess a small to medium cable company, and that cable company had some TV stations and I guess the 5th largest cable advertising company. So kind of touched on a bunch of different types of media. And while I was working at that company, we had systems in New Jersey, and New Jersey Bell had sent out this letter saying that they would like to discuss cooperative arrangements with cable companies. So I got a copy of this, and I thought, well, these folks are really capable of spilling their guts about what they're going to do for the next 15 years, and since there are competition, at that point I was representing a cable company. I thought it would be nice to have our potential competition spill their guts to us. So we sent our director of technology down to meet with the New Jersey Bell folks, and what did they do? They spilled their guts. They said what they were going to do for the next 15 to 20 years and that they were going to spend several $jillion doing it. Well, you know, we were a company that did $100 million in revenue, and compared to New Jersey Bell, you know, we were going to get crushed. So it was apparent to me we weren't going to have a long life expectancy. So we argued to the owners of this cable company that from their perspective, we thought it made sense to cooperate with New Jersey Bell. And it was easy for me to make that argument because it wasn't my equity. So it was easy to be bold with someone else's money. And they said, well, that's really nice, Bob, but we're a cable company, we're not a phone company, and so those are the bad guys, we're the good guys, and we're not going to cooperate with them. So I thought that was short-sighted. Again, it wasn't my money, so it left this cable company, grabbed a couple of other folks, and set out to kind of do this on our own. called up New Jersey Bell, and I guess an hour or so later, after the air came back into the room, that they were talking to a bunch of unemployed folks. They decided that, well, they'd keep the dialogue going. And what were we confronted with? We were confronted with, well, cable business is a pretty interesting business. It's made a lot of money for folks, but it's kind of been there and done that thing. It's already been done. Those folks are making a lot of money. They have the vast majority of customers out there. So how do you come in at number 2 and be viable? And we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how do you make this network meaningful for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th provider on there, because we were mortified to find out that Bell Atlantic was configuring what was effectively just another cable TV system. It had the rules of a cable TV system. It was, even though it was digital, it was one-way broadcast, and we were, I guess at that point, Paul, we were in shock. Their input to the network, which is called the Video Administration Module, had cable rules in it. So all the stuff that you see up here, the high school, the grocery store, catalog shopping, real estate, VOD, healthcare, wasn't going to work on this network because the rules they embedded back in here in the VAM said that if you wanted to be a real estate business, that's great, but you'd have to behave like a cable TV company. You'd have to sell your houses on this kind of pricing matrix. You could have a basic price for a house. You have a premium price for a house, and I think they had a pay-per-view price. So if you wanted to sell houses, you would have to do it on a pay-per-view basis or a premium HBO kind of basis. So our background, though I was in cable television, and before that I had been in marketing, I was smart enough to affiliate with people that actually have talent, who are like AV people who do things. And they're computer-oriented people, and they're network integrators. And they influenced Bell Atlantic. And remember, we're a customer of Bell Atlantic. We're not a partner of Bell Atlantic. And we argued from the point of that represented by a customer, which is we needed certain characteristics in this network to be able to compete. So what the computer folks said was, make this a dumb switch. Don't make this a rule-based switch. Take out the cable rules and essentially let information pass through the network. Now, after weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of arguing, I guess maybe months, Bell, this is correct, right, effectively agreed to eliminate traditional CATV broadcast type rules from the network intelligence. So now information could flow from the catalog shopper through the video administration module to your house. And at that point, since I'm the least technical person in the group, I got some clarity about what was going on here. It became apparent that this is not CATV broadcast. This is everything you know about traditional broadcast television. You take and you throw in the trash can. What this is a computer network. And if you think about what's a telephone is wires and switches. What's a computer? Wires and switches. This, after we go through this and as we keep going through, it becomes more and more clear that the opportunities this presents are those opportunities reflective of a PC network, because that's really what this is. There were many questions that had a broadcast kind of hint to them earlier. And there was a question about narrowcast and many broadcast questions. But what this does, if you think PC network, it eliminates those constraints that broadcast has. This is not a finite medium. In the cable world right now, they're talking about going from 25 to 50 to 75 channels and 500 channels. That's the buzzword out there right now. Eventually we're going to get all the way to 500 channels. And that's still finite. With 500 channels, who controls the 500 channels? Cable company. In this network, the issues of channels becomes irrelevant. So let's think about our telephone. How many channels do you have coming into your phone? Most of us at home have one line coming into the house. And from that one line, What's the total universe of folks or people or businesses that you could dial from one line? It's infinite. All right, well, supposing rather than just voice coming across that line, it was sound and pictures. Now what's the total amount of sound and pictures that you could access from your one line? It's infinite. So what that does is very different than what cable's about. Cable is still a controlled, finite space medium. 400 channels, 500 channels, or whatever. With finite space, who controls what goes on the network? Some big brain centralized power somewhere, whether it's a corporate cable office out in Denver, or someone in New York, or someone in Hollywood, somewhere in Hollywood. If you have limitless capacity, just like your telephone, except your phone's bringing pictures, if you have limitless capacity, who controls what rests and what survives on this network? The user, the consumer. What this is this is distributed processing being brought to the home. What's happening in business? IBM represents centralized processing. Novell, Microsoft represent distributed processing with control over information moving to users. In the office, it's to their desk in a workstation format. Well, who represents IBM in the CATV world? Who's the big brain that wants to control, own everything? That's networks or CATV companies. They're the big brains. They're betting that they can control what you as a user want to watch. And our bet at Futurevision was, when we left the cable company and set up our own shop, there was no video dial tone order from the FCC. There was no commitment from Bell to do this project because Opportunity New Jersey hadn't been approved. There was no Cable Re-Regulation Act which would obligate folks to provide us with traditional programming. So why is it that we left with none of those things having happened? Because the trend is unassailable and the trend is defined. The trend is towards open networks, open architecture, with control moving to the user. So that was our bet as a company. When we were created in March of '92, none of the things that were necessary for us to succeed had taken place. In the interim, last summer the FCC approved video dial tone. Last fall, Congress overrode the president and passed cable re-regulation. And in December, the Bureau of Regulatory Commissioners in New Jersey voted 3-0 to permit Opportunity New Jersey to move forward. So we saw that this was an open network. We saw that things were going to be very different. In an open network, where's the place you would want to be? You don't have any particular franchise per se. There were some, I thought, insightful questions early on about, geez, there's going to be many providers. There are going to be many Futurevisions, unlike Adelphia Cable or Monmouth Cable, where we're going to be competing with them. They control their network. We're the first of many customers coming on this network. So what is it important for us to do? This is a means of electronic distribution. We've got to get this network into the home. And when I say we, I mean Futurevision. It's important to understand we're a competitor of New Jersey Bell in the short run and in the long run, because New Jersey Bell ultimately is going to be, or Bell Atlantic or whatever name they want to use, is going to be one of these providers of information. So how, in this environment, how does a company like Futurevision get into the home? Why is it if you're watching Adelphia and you're getting 35 channels and you're paying $22, $25 a month and $4 for a remote control and $5 for an additional outlet, $10 to shift from Showtime to HBO, why would you want to be at home and subscribe to anything Futurevision offered? I mean, we don't think people buy stuff because the picture's a little better. That's kind of nice, but we think people are going to look at us for this reason. First off, they're irritated at the incumbent cable company. I guess we had an Adelphia employee interview with us last week, and he said that he's seen, while the New Jersey Bell technicians are driving down the street, in their trucks, and they're working on somebody's property, and people invite them in for sandwiches and stuff. The Adelphia guys are being sprayed off the property with hoses. so there's a difference in customers' mind about the perception of how customers are treated. Well, we're number 2, so at the moment we have, that cuts 2 ways. We have an opportunity, but we have to deliver. So what is it that we have to do? Can we come in and charge more money than Adelphia is charging? Yeah, if we don't want any customers, we can. So while we're not telling folks today what our specific price is for our 60 channels of programming, it's going to be less expensive than what they're paying today. And that's not because we're good guys, it's because that's what it takes to compete. Additionally, we're coming from the view that we have no right to mandate what people should be watching. We believe that folks should watch what they want to watch. So the first steps in this network to separate ourselves from what people know about today is we're going to ask people, what do you want to watch? Not a profound concept, but apparently they're not being asked today. The network has some narrow, I guess we'll call narrow point functionality. We can target programming down to 250 home cell sites. And that's it's really a temporary limitation. By next year, we think that there will be thousands of channels, but not in the traditional sense, because not every channel needs to be real-time broadcast. If it's the real estate company that's broadcasting, or not broadcasting, but that has access to this network, and you want to go look at a house, you don't necessarily need full motion video to look at a house on display. Maybe still shots can convey the house. So that's a much smaller bit rate, so you don't need 45 megabits. Same thing with catalog shopping, grocery store. A lot of the grocery stuff can be down in a kilobit rate. So sub-channelization will be possible. What we're trying to do, because we have to distinguish ourselves from Adelphia, is we have to provide opportunities for real estate, catalog shopping, grocery store, any kind of programmer. We want to help you get on the network. So if you have a production idea that you think you could make sellable, that people would want to buy, consumers would want to see your product, we would want to help you get on the network. That's where we're a competitor to New Jersey Bell. A guy stood up here and said, I'll give you my brochure and my card, and you can come subscribe to a video channel. Well, a lot of what we're doing is aimed at getting you to come through us to get onto the network. We know we're going to do several things differently than New Jersey Bell. We're going to be less expensive than New Jersey Bell. We're going to be quicker than New Jersey Bell. When you come to Futurevision, we don't have 6 presidents. Just in one state. New Jersey Bell is a huge organization, and you could go weeks before actually arriving at the individual that could make a decision, and then that decision could get overridden. So we think if you have a serious business proposal about how you would like to distribute your product to these homes, we think we can get you on the network. We're not telephone folks, we're effectively computer folks, and what they're building is a giant computer network. So at the end of the day, what we think is important is that everyone understands this is not broadcast, this is not CATV, this is a computer network. And what we want are people to bring their ideas, not necessarily to us, but if they can, that's great. New Jersey Bell would be super also. But we need to promote that video dial tone is a way for folks who couldn't get access to distribution before can now distribute their product over the network. One of the things that we're having a hard time getting across is that access is a much less expensive proposition to providers of information in this world. Down in Toms River, we're being beat up over the PEG channel, the government and public access. So we offer to provide public access at no charge in Toms River. The point that they missed is it's important for us to provide public access because we want to compete. They were looking at it as, well, the cable companies are so uncooperative, you have to make them take your programming. We agreed to distribute it at no cost. Had they been thinking about this as a computer network and how important it is for us to have programming, they would have realized we would have paid for that program. We came to Toms River in our mind prepared to pay the schools and other institutions for access to their programming, because that's how important it was to us. And yet they demanded that we take it for nothing. And we cooperated. So skip me again. So I'm sitting there going, this is so new conceptually that the critical points in this aren't being grasped by a lot of folks. Access is not finite here. Access is not expensive in a traditional sense. If you have 30 channels or 50 channels like a traditional provider, access is a very valuable commodity. But in this world, this is unlimited capacity. It's like a video phone number. What's the limit on phone numbers in the world? There is no limit on phone numbers. So as you're out there thinking about how do we fit in to this network, the paradigm really flips over. If you have something of interest, whether it's video or text or data, this network is going to be able to accommodate you in a much easier fashion than you're used to in terms of today's distribution. By 94 and 95, if we have our way, this school, if this were part of Dover Township, would be able to port into the network. You wouldn't have to have a studio, and you wouldn't have to bicycle it to our head end. So access really opens up. And how would that look? You just would reside on a menu somewhere on people's TV screens. That's how that would work. What we're saying is, think about access to a computer network, not to a broadcast network. How many? I guess most folks here probably use a PC today. And on your PC, you have different types of programming. You have WordPerfect, you have Lotus, and you have other programs. When you want the program, it's not being broadcast. You just access it when you want it. When you don't want it, it's just sitting there somewhere, either on your PC or if it's in a network, somewhere on the network. Well, that's how this is going to work. So earlier on, I think you had asked, how are you going to communicate? Was that I think you had a question. How are you going to communicate with, say, the guy who has the grocery business?
So how does the seller?
How does the seller communicate? The seller is going to have, I guess, a server on site, PC or some PC-based server, and that the person in the home, through their remote, is going to communicate through the network, just like a phone call would work, onto wherever your server is based, and communicate with your computer. And the person will, they'll order, your computer will take the order and do whatever other information is necessary. You know, it could foot it to the accounting system, billing system, or whatever. And that's what's going to take place here. Is this real estate or this catalog, this business is not broadcast. It's not a broadcast medium. You're going to go access information. So, yeah.
And how many people can that terminal access at one time? So there was 100
Like a busy
phone
line.
calls at the same time.
You mean phone calls to the catalog shopper? Well, it's the server would be sized, I guess, based upon the demands of the business. So you shouldn't have a situation in the normal course of business where you get a video busy signal, which is, I think, what you're driving at. But every business has a different need. One of the things we've seen is that from the Bell Atlantic corporate intergalactic thinking is that they think everybody has the same needs in the world. That they're gonna build a server as big as New Jersey. Well, you know, maybe that this local Toms River real estate person here, they don't need a server the size of New Jersey. Maybe they only need a small PC. And that's how you have to think about this. What's the functional demand for your service? And what we're arguing is that leave the network open, let the people in these businesses decide for themselves what their particular piece of intelligence should look like.
How would a video information provider have any idea how many calls to expect at any given time since it's new technology and that?
Well, there's some advantages to a small rollout. It's 1,000 homes a month. So the way we're viewing one of the reasons we went to Toms River is the demographics are mixed. So you could focus some businesses on elderly, some businesses on different types of folks, and you learn. This is for anyone that gets involved early, the strategy should be to listen to the community, listen to the marketplace about your product. The folks that get in early are going to be up the learning curve. This is going to roll out at the rate of 1,000 homes a month for a 3-year period in Toms River, and I guess it's 1,000 homes a month for about a year in the Dover, in the Morris Township area. So there's a lot of time to evolve your thinking as a provider. That's our strategy. We're up here as a first customer. A lot of, when we have lines of business, a lot of what we have next to it is question mark. So it's incumbent upon us to pay attention to how people respond. But that's really to our advantage. Since we're competing, we have to listen to people anyway. So what you have to do is you roll your product out, you use your best guesses, and you use your business experience to tell you what demand might look like. But at the end of the day, customers are going to tell you.
Take a look at the line that goes up to the ONU.
Okay.
That's the line I want to talk about for just a second. You have 6 houses there, but you said that really a cell would be about 250 houses in the beginning.
Right.
If each one of those houses, theoretically, were to tie in with a 45 megabit video channel, that means you would have 250 video channels operating at the same time. Not you personally, or you, Futurevision, but the Bell telephone would have 250. Is that a problem for that?
If it were 250 45 megabit channels, it would be a problem, but that's not necessary to. The architecture is somewhat of a hybrid. The 60 channels that we're getting today are broadcast to the HDT. Paul? Well, Paul, why don't you explain the technology of it?
Okay. From the HDT out to the homes, that's a 760 megabit channel. That serves only 250 homes. The goal is, with compression, you'll actually be getting to 6 megabit channel, 3 megabit channels, 1.5 megabit channels. And then also there's some real low level for text overlay services, things like that. The providers, essentially, if you're not going to go, if you're going to have an intermix of services, and you can assume that everybody won't be getting the 6 megabit channel at one time, you're going to get to where you have way more channels than you have homes to be connected to that HDT. You get the era of a channel per home, per set. And at that time, that's because you're coming back to a switch back here. This switch can literally handle any number of providers. The capacity, there's no capacity issue. That's the way your phone works today. You do not end up with a bottleneck down here. You do end up with bottlenecks back here on the switch, but that's the intelligence of switches. If that route is maxed out, it finds another route without you knowing about it. And that will happen. There is a capacity issue down here. If for some reason Bell does not get to the point with the 6 megahertz being a broadcast quality channel, there's dark fiber being run there. That they'll make use of the excess fiber to get to that. This doesn't work. The unlimited channel capacity doesn't work unless you have a channel to home.
So it's a non-issue, really.
Right.
The bottleneck
Right.
getting
That
to those
you
homes.
won't see that happen this year. Next year is when that starts to happen. Mainly because of the compression issue. The components for these guys to be compressing and the box in the home to do compressing is they're under development now. We'll roll them out probably beginning in December, start testing some, and then before the end of next year they'll be in regular use.
Yeah, I think if you're planning to be a provider, I think that the most important concept to think about in the home is what's happening with processing power. Processing power is becoming a free good. So from a marginal cost standpoint, there will be no more real cost to adding additional processing power at the TV set in the home. Right now, cable has what's called a converter box, and it's relatively limited in its intelligence. By 1996, the issue of intelligence at the set is not going to be relevant. There will be the ability to make hard things seem easy. That's what's going to make this network work. The average person sitting at home doesn't want to know anything about computers to use their TV set. And we don't think they should have to know anything. It's got to be fun, it's got to be easy, it's got to be simple. Without fun, easy, and simple, this doesn't work. And we think, I mean, the trend is, you can hear it if we're all quiet right now, you can hear the trend right now. Processing costs going down. It's palpable. And that's what's happening at the set to make all the rest of this stuff meaningful. We don't think, I mean, for the average person, there couldn't be anything more irrelevant than this stuff. People don't wake up and say, you know, geez, I really hope we get fiber optics to our house. You know, well, I don't know, honey, coax is pretty good. Those are not relevant issues. They want to access stuff that's meaningful to them in an easy way. And that's just regular behavior. You know, in our industry, cable TV and telephone, folks are spending an incredible sum of money to find out that if we put movies at your TV set, a video store at your set, would you use it? Now that's mentally defective. There's a $14 billion industry that took place in 7 years where people, they leave the comfort of their living room, they drive to some store, they get a movie or don't get a movie, they bring it back, and then if you know, what's a $100 movie? That's the movie that Bob rented 30 days ago and forgot to bring back. It's not a convenient form of distribution. We know, everyone in this room knows that it will work on one condition, 3 conditions: fun, simple, and easy. If you bring the movie store to the set and people can just access it, it's going to work. You don't need a marketing study. Most of these businesses, the catalog shopping business, anyone care to guess? Now, Sears couldn't pull it off anymore, even though they invented it. But how much do you think was spent in '92 on catalog shopping?
Billion?
Is it 1 billion? Was that
14.
14? So, wow. $51 billion. People going through hard copy and saying, yeah, I'll buy that.
How many trees is that, Bob?
There's 10 really big trees, a lot of recycling. So, do you need, I don't know, do you need to spend market research to find out whether people will catalog shop? They're going to do it. The issue is not will they, it's will they use this system? Is it easy enough? So, for folks such as yourselves who have particular talents in creating and making things that people are interested in, that's the focus that we have. Make it easy, make it fun, make it friendly. Use your magic. The magic is making hard things seem easy. So when we bump up against people, so how are you going to compete against Adelphia? you know, they're a fine company and all that, but at the end of the day, our business is not going to be to compete against Adelphia. Adelphia and TCI and Time Warner and those folks, yeah, some of them will come on the network. But let's think it through. Is there any reason that since this is a computer network that you're not going to be able to directly interact with HBO's library or Paramount's library, wherever digital information resides? Just like you can dial them up on the phone, you'll be able to dial them up on your video phone, per se. So is there going to be a need for Adelphia, TCI, Time Warner, Futurevision in the traditional sense? How is it that we're going to be able to say, nah, don't go directly to CNN, come through us? Right. Well, I think CNN, we have to pay CNN for their product and then mark it up to the consumer. I think CNN is probably going to do a better job some years out just providing it directly. But there are many opportunities on this network that don't call for national distribution. And if I were sitting on the other side saying, how do I find my way onto this network as a provider, there's a lot of ways.
That was exactly what I was going to ask. Can you get a little more specific as a provider, addressing the providers? We've talked a lot about grocery stores, and I can understand how a grocery store can, you know, have somebody order direct. But what about provider in the sense of programming, like a 30-minute show or something like that? How is that going to be addressed here? How do you get that program on there?
How do you find that program?
Yes. How's all that?
Well, there are going to be several ways for the 30-minute programmer we think to get on the network. There will be aggregators like us that will have a site where we have satellite dishes where we'll catch programming. So maybe if you're in Oregon or something and you want to give us the Spotted Owl 30-minute program, you send it off satellite to us, and we'll take it and we'll put it on a file server, and then it will get menu residence to the folks that we're distributing to. In the early years, we'll be distributing to 36,000 homes, but we're leasing our distribution capability from Bell. So as Bell, let's say Bell, New Jersey Bell has 3 million homes. We're going to lease 35,000 homes, and maybe for some homes, maybe by the year 2000 or 2005, we'll have a pretty good idea of the folks that will be interested in your 30-minute program, because every single point of electronic distribution, which is a TV set, is going to develop a personality about what it wants to watch. We think that there should be protective measures so that New Jersey Bell can't read all about your personal lives, because this is an intelligent network. But you ought to be able to profile yourself about the type of, you ought to be able to set up profile screens, menu screens, so that if you're interested in the ecological 30-minute program, that you can just set up a screen that whenever residence appears, you know, maybe as a distributor of that programming, you only want residents to appear for 30 days. You'll put your program on our server for 30 days, and then you'll take a temperature of the marketplace. And that's really how you would distribute. You'd say, well, I don't want to start off with 3.5 million homes. Give me targeted marketplace, and let me put it on there for 30 days and see who, what, and when wants to watch what I've created. Because, unlike broadcast, this is an intelligent network. So you know who's watching. You know how long they're watching.
What happens to advertising?
Advertising gets very different. That's scary to folks in the advertising world.
So you can't really advertise your program for people to watch.
Well, we think that there's always going to be a demand for real-time programming, or what you call today network programming. People are going to want to watch new real-time programs. So there's going to be some, I mean, you're going to be able to access.
How do you get your Spotted Owl from
wait a second. All right, so the advertising question is an important one. There will be real-time broadcast programming on this network. So that'll be a traditional form of advertising. McDonald's will still buy their spots, and the big companies will still buy mass media spots, because we don't think the demand for that goes away, even though this is a different capability. There's going to be different kinds of advertising, though. You got the local auto dealer. You're going to be everything you see in the yellow pages, you'll be able to access through this network. So what's a local auto dealer around here? I don't know, something Pontiac. You access the Pontiac dealership through here and say, I want to look at the 1993 Bonneville. So what are you calling up? You're calling up Pontiac's Bonneville ad. So that's a different form of advertising.
You have to look for it.
Yeah, but the difference is control has moved totally to the consumer. So if you make your living on advertising, it just got a lot more difficult, but I'm not sure that's a cruel punishment to society.
all along people buy what advertisers tell them to buy. That's the whole rule of advertising. This is the opposite, so it's
very targeted.
You touched on the terminal gate intelligence. A couple of months ago when New Jersey Bell and Salmon's agreement was put out, in multi-channel news they talked about the format of the network. They talked about a switched intelligence network. And somehow, I don't know how, that's the first question.
Well, there's points of intelligence along the network. You have the digital switch is a routing machine or a queuing machine. There's going to be stored